Hello, friends. How are you doing? It is story time. I am so happy that you are able to be here with me today. I hope that you are getting ready to enjoy a beautiful day today, or maybe you have already enjoyed a beautiful day today. Whatever it is that you are getting ready to do or have been doing, I hope that you find great pleasure in what it is that you are doing. So, I have a couple of really good stories for us today. The first one I'm going to read for you is called How Teddy Bears Are Made. This is a visit to the Vermont Teddy Bear Factory. So, a long time ago, I was totally obsessed with collecting teddy bears. And so this was one of the books that I had of my own personal collection that I like to have just to find out about teddy bears. So this one is called How Teddy Bears Are Made. It's written by Anne Morris, and this one doesn't have illustrations. It has photographs, and these photographs are by Ken Heyman. Okay, so see, we start off right here with a photograph already. Hannah has a bear, Mbizo has a bear, and Nick has a bear. Do you know where teddy bears come from? Do you have a bear? I bet that you do, right? Teddy bears are made in teddy bear factories, and here is a very special one. This is what you see when you come in the front door, a giant teddy bear. Today, Hannah, Mbizo, and Nick are taking a tour of the factory to find out how teddy bears are made. Look at that. So here's the outside of the building, and look, that is a giant teddy bear, isn't it? Wow. They learned that the first thing you have to do when you're making a bear is to think about what it looks like. Kathleen, the designer, thinks about bears all the time. When she's thought of a new kind of bear, she makes a drawing of it. If everyone likes the design, she makes a pattern. So here she is, making a design of a bear. So you have to kind of know what it looks like. Every bear is a little bit different. Nancy lays a metal die, which is like a cookie cutter, on the fabric. A big machine stamps out many parts of the bear at one time. You ever made cookies with a cookie cutter? And you cut the shape of the cookie? That's what she's doing with that big machine in the fabric that's going to cut out for the bear. So you can see, like, here's a picture of the machine and the cuts, and then here's how it looks after many of the cuts have been made with that big machine. Then the ears and arms and legs are sewn by a machine. So they have the ears and the arms and the legs that are being sewn on. Look at that. So it's cut out, and then they sew it with a sewing machine or by hand or a bigger machine. A hole is left at the neck, so this machine can blow stuffing into the teddy bear's head. The arms and legs are stuffed the same way. So look, she's got a big machine that puts all the stuffing that makes a teddy bear all cuddly inside of it. So when they sew it up, they have to leave just a hole big enough so that all that stuffing can go in. The stuffing for the body is put in by hand, and the back of the bear is sewn up. So I have to sew that hole back up so that none of that stuffing leaks out. Before the bears are dressed, they must be brushed well. So they brush them so that their fur is all nice and pretty. Hannah, Mbizo, and Nick help brush too. So they get to brush. All kinds of teddy bears are made in this factory. Artist bears. Look, he has a little paint palette and a beret and a painter's smock. Ballerina bears. She has a tutu on and she's getting a bow in her hair. Camper bears. Ooh, look, he's got all of his camping equipment. Got a compass so he doesn't get lost, and looks like he might have a backpack strapped to him for all of the things that he needs while he's out there camping. Dressed up bears and just plain soft cuddly bears. Look, he's all fancy. He's got on a tuxedo. That's a fancy bear. The bears get all of their last minute trimming here. So look, this is inside that factory. And that's where all the bears get dressed and get their bows or ties or whatever they might put on them is all in there. Look at that. Is that neat? After the bears have been brushed and dressed, the people in the shipping department put tags on the bears. This bear is ready to travel to its new home. Oh, look at her. She's all ready to go. Telephone operators take orders for all kinds of bears from people across the country. Mary Jane enters the orders into her computer. You can tell this book is an older book. Look at the telephones that they're using. Have you even seen a phone like that? Maybe not. So this book is an older book. And look at this computer that she's using. Definitely doesn't look like what we have nowadays. But that's interesting how they did it even back then. Then each bear is packed carefully and mailed in a big box. Whenever bears are torn or hurt, Dr. Sherry in the teddy bear hospital knows how to patch them up. Hannah and Bezo and Nick watch her take care of a sick bear. Ooh, so before a bear can even be sent out if it's sick, Dr. Sherry takes care of it. She fixes that bear all up. Thank goodness. After a busy morning in the factory, Bezo, Hannah, and Nick take their bears to lunch. Look at that. What do you think teddy bears like best to eat? What do you think teddy bears like best to eat? Looks like they have some French fries. And then here's one last photograph of the bears in their bags ready to be put in boxes to be shipped. That was fun, wasn't it? So this is how teddy bears are made in the factory. You may have been someplace where you've been able to make teddy bears or other kinds of animals. Have you ever done that, where you've gone in and stuffed an animal? Have you ever gone to build a bear, maybe, and been able to build your own bear? Well, that's the same way they do it in this factory, and then they ship all those off. So that's a fun book. This was a non-fiction book. That means that this is a real story. This is something that really happens. I like that that one had pictures inside of it, photographs, and not just drawings. So that was fun. All right, this next book that I'm going to read to you is called A Bad Case of the Stripes. It's by David Shannon. Now look at this book. It's very worn. You can definitely tell that this is a book that has been well loved. It's been read many times. This was my youngest daughter, Veronica. This was her favorite story. We used to read this one all the time when she was little. And she's 18 now and getting ready to graduate from high school. But this was a book that we read when she was little, and we read it over and over and over again. And you can tell by the way the book looks, right? It's been taped up, so it's definitely a well-worn, well-loved story. So, A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. Camilla Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people thought of her. Today, she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked in the mirror. Then she screamed. So Camilla likes lima beans. Do you like lima beans? But she didn't want to eat them because nobody else that she knew liked lima beans, and she just wanted to be the same as everybody else. Her mother ran into the room, and she screamed too. "Oh, my heavens," she cried, "you're completely covered with stripes." This was certainly true. Camilla was striped from head to toe. She looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's forehead. "Do you feel all right?" she asked. "I feel fine," Camilla answered, "but just look at me." "You get back in bed this instant," her mother ordered. "You're not going to school today." Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was afraid of what the other kids would say, and she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. So look at her. She's all covered with stripes. She doesn't feel bad, but she's covered with stripes, so Mom says she can't go to school. She's kind of relieved, huh? That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. "Most extraordinary," he exclaimed. "I've never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camilla told him. "I feel fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Mrs. Cream, "I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that should help clear up those stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to find me." And off he went. So nothing's wrong with her, and she's going to have to go to school. Oh, look, even her tongue is striped. She's got stripes everywhere. Would you want to go to school if you were covered in stripes? Right now, you might want to go to school no matter what you're covered in. Oh my gosh, look at this. The next day was a disaster. Everyone at school laughed at Camilla. They called her Camilla Crayon and Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything was normal, but when class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue, and she broke out in stars. So her stripes turned to the colors of the flag as she said the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh my goodness. And everybody was making fun of her. The other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see if some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard," and a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you can change channels on a TV. Oh, poor Camilla. That was not nice of the other kids to tease her like that. And she kept changing. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you keep Camilla home from school. She's just too much of a distraction, and I've been getting calls from the other parents. They're afraid those stripes might be contagious." Contagious means that anybody could get it. Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago everyone liked her. Now nobody wanted to be in the same room with her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camilla. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans, but she had been laughed at enough for one day. Oh, poor Camilla, and her parents are trying to help her. All she wants is some lima beans, but she knows that everybody would make fun of her if she eats lima beans. "Well, yes, I see," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mrs. Cream phoned the next day. "I think I'd better bring in the specialist. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. "This is Dr. Grop, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young." Then the specialist went to work on Camilla. They squeezed and jabbed, tapped, and tested. It was very uncomfortable. "Well, it's not the mumps," concluded Dr. Grop. "Or the measles," said Dr. Sponge. "Definitely not chicken pox," put in Dr. Cricket. "Or sunburn," said Dr. Young. "Try these," said the specialist. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. "Take one of each before bed," said Dr. Grop. Then they filed out the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. Poor Camilla, she's got all those doctors poking and prodding on her, and they still don't know what's wrong with her. Look, he's even tickling her foot with a feather. Got their stethoscope, looking inside her eyes. Look at all those different crazy colors on her. They just give her some medicine and hope that it will all be okay. That night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant, multicolored pill with her face on it. So all the medicine that they gave her, all it did was turn her into a pill. That didn't help her stripes at all. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Mrs. Cream called, but this time instead of the specialist, he brought the experts. Dr. Gord and Mr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camilla was poked and prodded, looked at and listened to, and the experts wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered. Dr. Gord finally spoke up. "It might be a virus," he announced with authority. Suddenly, fuzzy little virus balls appeared all over Camilla. Look at that. "Or possibly some form of bacteria," said Mr. Mellon. Out popped squiggly little bacteria tails. "Or it could be a fungus," added Dr. Gord. Instantly, Camilla was covered with different colored fungus blotches. The experts looked at Camilla, then at each other. "We need to go over these numbers again, back at the lab," Dr. Gord explained. "We'll call you when we know something." But the experts didn't have a clue, much less a cure. So every time they say something, it appears on Camilla. Yuck. She's got bacteria, virus, fungus, little thingies all over her. Ugh. By now, the TV news had found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon, a huge crowd was camped out on the front lawn. All the news reporters are there, trying to see what's going on with this ever-changing colored kiddo. The creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, psychics, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Veterinarians take care of animals. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camilla's strange appearance, until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers and a long furry tail. But nothing worked. Oh my gosh, look, that's Camilla. It doesn't even look like a little girl anymore at all, does it? Every time somebody tries to do something, it makes something new grow all over her. Poor Camilla. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed she could cure Camilla. "Close your eyes," she said. "Breathe deeply and become one with your room." "I wish you hadn't said that," Camilla groaned. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was a dresser, and 2 paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. "What are we going to do?" cried Mrs. Cream. "It just keeps getting worse and worse." She began to sob. So look, Camilla became part of her room. Here's her mouth, her bed, right? And the dresser is her nose. And look, those 2 pictures are her eyes. So when that environmental therapist said, "Become one with your room," Camilla really did become one with her room. At that moment, Mrs. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly, "but but I think I can help. She looks very nice. I hope that she can help Camilla. She went into Camilla's room and looked around. My goodness, she said with a shake of her head. What we have here is a bad case of stripes, one of the worst I've ever seen. She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. Here, she said, this might do the trick. Are those magic beans? Asked Mrs. Green. Oh my, no, replied the kind old woman. There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I'll bet you'd like some, wouldn't you? She asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big, heaping, helping plateful of lima beans more than just about anything, but she was still afraid to admit it. Yuck, she said. No one likes lima beans, especially me. Oh dear, said the woman sadly. I guess I was wrong about you. She put the beans back in her bag and started toward the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good, and being laughed at for eating lima beans was nothing compared to what she'd been going through. She finally couldn't stand it. Wait, she cried. The truth is, I really love lima beans. I thought so, the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. Mmm, said Camilla. Look, she's putting them into her mouth, the bed mouth. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. I'm cured, she shouted. Yes, said the old woman. I knew the real you was in there somewhere. She patted Camilla on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Look, after she ate her lima beans, everything just went away. All the stripes, all the feathers, all the tails, all the squiggles, all the everything. Afterward, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had even a touch of stripes again. But look, her bow is striped. So she has a striped bow in her hair. So Camilla didn't want to be different and eat lima beans when the kids were making fun of her for eating them. But because she didn't do what she liked, things got even worse and they made even more fun of her. So this story is letting us know that it's okay to be different and you don't have to do the same thing as everybody else. So I hope that you enjoyed our stories for story time today. I am happy that you were able to be here with us or me, all of us together. I can't wait to see you again. So until next time, bye guys. Have a great rest of your day.